Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another unboxing slash first ride impressions and also a little bit of history as I go forward. So what we're going to talk about today is frame pumps. Now we're not talking about mini pumps, like these kinds of things. Talking about a frame pump. So if you are riding a carbon frame, because of all the shapes on a carbon frame, the frame pump has pretty much, it's almost non-existent. There's a few people still making them here and there, but majority of when you used to have this many options, now your options are very narrow. So, a little bit of history. I've got a few frame pumps. So the Zeffel, which some of you might have owned. This Park 201, which is quite adjustable, right? You could just slot things in here depending on the size of your frame, either your top tube, or some people put it by the rear tire, so they run it along the seat tube. And then this is the pump I've had for a long time. It's worked really well. This is a toe peak, and it's got the high pressure and zero setting here so that it'll go into your, well, actually, let me show you one more thing. It'll go onto your top tube with some spring pressure. But on this guy, I've always run it with a Velcro strap because it does slip from the head tube or from the seat tube. It just slips, right? So this is a hard plastic, so it doesn't have a rubber tip on this. And that would be where the pump peg would go into. So if you've got a frame that doesn't have a pump peg, you really need this head, or the handle I should say, this is the head, to be rubber. Now this end is rubber, but they didn't put it on this end. Anyway, I can't find this toe peak pump anymore. All right, so you came because the title is about the Silca pump. And this is it right here. Now, I had this pump, or I ordered this pump because I'm going to Paris, France, to do Paris-Brest-Paris. So that's a 1,200 kilometer event. 750-mile event, unsupported. Now, in addition to being unsupported, there's also that little pain in the butt thing that if you're traveling on board an aircraft, you can't bring your CO2s with you. So then when you land there, then you got to find a bike shop, buy CO2s, all that kind of stuff. Well, this is a 750-mile event. I don't think I'm going to be in such a hurry that I need a CO2 on a 750-mile event. So I'm actually going to take a frame pump, and I'm also taking a steel bike. So this is going to fit very nicely in there. So on Saturday, I went out, did a 10,000 plus climbing day. I went out in the heat on purpose because if you've been watching the tour, so today is July 17th, rest day for them. They've really had some hot weather, and Lori and Roberta are over there in France currently, and they are experiencing 95, 100 plus degrees. So anticipating that, I went out at 10 a.m., got into the really hot areas of my ride around 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Very, very hot for us here in San Diego. So what I mean by hot is it was 98 in the shade, and I've got some photos that I posted in the community post, and it was over 100 in some of the areas. So I also wore a hydration pack, so I need to talk about that in a separate video. But within like a mile or two of my ride, I got a front flat. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use a CO2 this early into the ride. I'm not riding with anyone. I'm riding solo, so I'm not in a hurry. Let's just use the pump. So, yeah, I mean, this is a very sturdy pump. I mean, it's just a very sturdy pump. And this chuck grabs onto the valve very well. Also, what I like about it is this little section here, which is for the seat tube area. It's a very nice place to put my hand as I'm pushing it up on the valve and then get some good long strokes on this pump, right? So this is why I like a frame pump. Also, remember in this other pump I was talking about, it didn't have a rubber part that goes on the head tube. So this does, and this holds the pump fairly well. I mean, you got to hit some really significant potholes for this to slip. So I like the rubber tip. I like the sturdiness, because sometimes with these frame pumps, if this shaft is too thin, I mean, look at the difference between the toe peak one and the Silca one. Notice how much thicker the Silca one is. So it's a much more stable pump to, you know, here's the Zeffel, right? So that one's also thinner. So this Silca pump has a nice, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, but anyway, it's thicker than the others. It's sturdier. It's got a nice purchase for my hand when I put it up on a valve. It's got a nice rubber tip here to really hold on to the head tube. And then you got your hole for your pump peg, if your frame has a pump peg, right? So all in all, this is a very, very nice pump. It's a lot costlier than some of the other pumps, but it's made with very good attention to detail. It's a very, very good pump. Now, one other thing, I was riding 28 tires. I got a second front flat. I was probably 2 or 3 miles from finishing. I had about 1,200 feet to go to get over 10,000 feet. And I got another front flat, and it's a tiny little piece of wire that got into my Continental 5000 tubed tire. So that time I actually paid attention to how many strokes it took to get the tire really, really firm. And I don't know how many PSI per stroke, but I did 70 strokes, right? I counted 25, 25. And then by the time I got to the next set of 25, 20 was getting pretty hard to push. So about 70 strokes. I would imagine that's got to be at least 70 PSI, maybe more. And that was more than enough to continue my ride afterwards. So what I may do in the future, you know, grab something that's sitting around here. I've got a digital toe peak pressure gauge, and maybe I'll just deflate a tire all the way, pump it up, and see, okay, well, how much does 50 strokes get? How much does whatever get? It'd be a nice curious thing because I'm a curious fellow. But I am a Silca dealer. Anything that I review on this channel is typically because I wish to use it myself. I wish to evaluate it for my customers. So there's always some reason why that product has come in. If I give it, you know, the Rev seal of approval, then, you know, buy it with confidence. So if you're interested in any Silca products besides this frame pump, please drop a line down below. I'm leaving my contact information down below as well. So you can text and then we can figure out a time to chat, or you can send an email. So anyway, I approve this pump. It's a very, very good, solidly built frame pump. Now, a lot of you, like I said, you're in the carbon era. You don't have steel bikes. this pump's just not going to fit. It's going to look all diagonal in your main triangle. So, stick with the CO2s or maybe a mini pump like I have on my Bianchi XR4. I just have a mini pump on installed in a bottle cage bolts, and that's it, because that's all you get these days anyway. But if you're considering this Silca pump, I can't say enough good things about it. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, and I should have mentioned it at the very beginning, it's not a sponsored ad. I paid for it with my own funds. This was not given to me by Silca. No additional discounts or anything. As an employee, I purchased it as just shop inventory. So anyway, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe, and please hit that notification bell so you know when I've posted a new video. In the meantime, we'll see you up the road.